So I have a serious question for you.
Yes.
Is our food killing us?
Absolutely.
Tell me about
Absolutely.
it. What's going on?
So there's a huge epidemic specifically in America of obesity. What's causing the obesity?
It's not I just eat too much.
No. There's no way. Because how many stories have you heard, have I heard, of people going overseas and they're like, oh, I lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks.
Or
Eating is everything.
what I often hear is the converse of that, which is I ate the same exact food
Yes,
here,
exactly.
and I immediately gained 10 or 20 pounds.
Yep. I heard that many times too. People come from overseas. They're like, same food, and I gained 20 pounds. I don't know what's going on.
But killing you sounds a lot more serious than 10 or 20 extra pounds. So is there more to it?
There's absolutely more to it because the obesity rates, they spiking up everybody's death rates, right? You're going to die a lot sooner with being obese than being thin. But I think there's also more to it. What's in the foods that's causing all sorts of issues, like the cancer rates.
Okay.
They're going up, right? They're always like everybody like I forgot it was a statistic. Like I'm gonna just make one up.
Fact check this, please.
Or just don't. This is a sci-fi. It's like 90% people like dying from cancer. At some point, you're gonna get cancer.
Sure, like if you live long enough, you're not going to...
But like everybody's getting cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer, or their arteries are blocked up with cholesterol. And it's all, I blame the food. Not just the food. What the food comes with, the containers, the pesticides, the water it's cooked in, the way it's extracted, all of it. Like, compared to other countries, we are doing things a lot differently, and I think that's hurting us a lot.
So I have some hypotheses on this as well. I heard long ago, like a lot of this stuff, some of it is new. Chemtrails. I was just talking to my friend about this before we came over here. Even if you grow an organic garden in your backyard, it's not as good as it could have been years ago because of what's flying overhead. But having said
everything that's landing on the food.
Having said that, kind of where this really started for me when I was a kid, when I remember people talking about it, was the depletion of the soils.
So that's huge.
So it's not, we talk about this as like not a world global problem, global in the respect that it's not just the food, it's not just the containers, it's literally this complex web of everything that we're under.
It's like the whole system's broken or something.
Right. It's all contaminated.
Starting from the soil all the way to the thing on your plate.
Right. And so I remember years ago them talking about how just simple nutritional levels like vitamin C in an orange, how they had depleted year after year until there was virtually no vitamin C left. Then they synthetically make vitamin C. Not that that's necessarily bad, but the point of it being that there's no nutrition in the ground for the plant to produce that nutrient for us. And therefore, we're adding it as a byproduct into what we're selling consumers.
Well, that's a good question. Well, how much vitamin C does a standard American orange that's about this big, how much vitamin C does it have?
The actual number isn't as important, in my opinion, as how much did it have originally versus what it has now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like versus, let's say, 60 years ago, maybe 80 years ago.
Right. And I think that number is strikingly low. I think you'd be very surprised to learn just how little is in there in comparison. I would say it's probably less than half of what it used to be. And I would say most crops that are really commercially produced Maybe not in everything because there is nitrogen in the soil. I mean, they are putting things back, and there are.
Well, hold on. So there's a little debate here. It's how much vitamin C does it have? How much vitamin C can we actually absorb eating that orange? So let's say it had 200 milligrams. Just throwing it out there. 80 years ago. Today it has 100 milligrams. But if we eat that orange, it's only going to absorb 50 milligrams either way from that 200 milligram, from that 100 milligram orange.
Right.
Okay. But then what are we eating? What's the rest of the what is the rest of the sugars that we're eating? What they're doing, what are they doing? How are we absorbing into our system? Like the oranges are a lot bigger than they used to be.
They're bigger. They're more genetically modified. You know, that's a huge.
Well, I mean, hold on. I don't know if there's that much genetically, like actual lab genetically modified food versus like how much people think. I think it's how can I say, bred. It's specific breeding over many years. You know, they get the biggest, sweetest orange. They're going to get the seeds from that, and so on and so forth.
So that's not genetically modified.
Yes, exactly.
At all.
Well, yeah, but that's selective breeding, and I think a lot of people put the G or what is it?
Non-GMO? GMO.
GMO. Sorry, thank you. GMO label on a lot of food that's not actually GMO.
I argue that there's a lot more GMO food
Than we know.
than you give it credit for.
Could be.
Because here's my thing. If it isn't, why wouldn't you put that non-GMO label on it?
Well, hold on. It's a marketing tactic as well, because they put all sorts of weird things, like I can't even come up with an example. Like let's say, like on a water bottle, it's going to say organic, right? I mean, obviously, hot water is organic. Stuff like that. Like they'll sell you some, let's say, a water cup, and it's going to say non-GMO on there. It's like it's going to have like a green leaf.
Well,
on
there's
there.
but there's
it's like a marketing tactic.
There's a difference with water, though. It's not an organism. It doesn't meet the last criteria.
Sure. But I'm just throwing things out there.
I'm just saying, if you have an orange or a bottle of orange juice, and you have the option of claiming the non-GMO, and you don't, my guess is it's because you can't.
I think it's a marketing tactic. I've even watched some documentaries talking about like how they're just trying to put all these labels to make it look fancy.
Well, I want labels, okay?
Well, speaking of marketing tactics, there's a fantastic commercial. At least I think it's fantastic. It's from Burger King. And I think it was only out once because it did so poorly. It was their Whopper, and it had the time frame, how long it is, and they showed a decay. And then it was just this, mess of goo after 2 weeks or something. I think that was genius because you could see that's real food, and it like decayed in 2 weeks. It was just garbage. Versus like McDonald's. We all know that food just lives forever.
Have you seen the lady who still has like a 1960s?
Yeah. There's a few of those. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But here's the thing. That commercial that showed the real food decaying in 2 weeks, it was not recognizable. People got grossed out by it, and it did really bad.
Right. It really sent the wrong message.
It sent the right message.
But it was the right message was received very wrong.
Exactly. Like it's like we're so brainwashed to not know better.
Well, that concept is what blows me away with.
It's like everything's plastic.
No, you can't go to your school with even fresh organic store-bought carrots, right? If you serve food out of school these days, it has to be packaged.
Basically from a certified package plant or whatever.
Right. And
the ones that always have E. coli breakouts.
Well, but the point of it is that what people fail to realize, and you'll hear this come up in our talks more in the future too, it has so much to do with liability. If if God forbid somebody actually did get sick, the parents can say, not me. The school can say, not me. And they can go back and they can go Hormel or Heinz or whatever.
And they're going to make their food so processed so nothing wants to touch it.
Processed,
so nobody
pasteurized.
gets sick off of it. Right?
Yep.
Like everything's, plastic. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Everything's plastic. There's that cartoon where it's like a plastic world. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And it's a very interesting cartoon. It's a plastic world. And then this girl discovers like this non-plastic, like a real tree. And it was like mind blowing to her.
It's really funny because for years, this is just the truth. My mom has been throwing around this phrase, we're just eating polyester.
Yeah.
And whether it's a soda or a burger, it's just
for example, the hot Cheetos. Yeah, they're like so addictive. I love them. I had them. I haven't touched them in years. But when I remember eating them, I couldn't stop eating them. And then you look at the label. What is in there? Let's say we're not even gonna include the food coloring because I think that's kind of obvious. And there's so many like. I don't know if there were studies, but there's so much stuff coming back saying how bad this is, especially for like a young child.
Right.
What it does to the brain, how they're making super active.
Because it's petroleum. I mean, it's basically
oil. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and how the body, absorbs it and what happens with it. Anyways, that's just food coloring. It's little tiny, and there's like 3 different food colorings on this.
That's why
Cheeto.
The best part are your fingers when you're done.
Exactly. But the list, the paragraph or 2 paragraphs of ingredients. What? How did we get to this point?
And it's funny because, my parents, not perfect, but they did instill these funny little, like, almost, by today's standards, they're almost like superstitions because we have the generally regarded as safe umbrella. Okay. Right. So our food dye falls under the, if you eat a serving and you don't, exceed the food pyramid guidelines, don't eat 4 bags, just eat a serving out of a bag, then the food coloring is what they call generally regarded as safe. And,
but I mean, that logic, but I know what you're talking about. There's a huge thing about how much could go in your food, but you're only supposed to use eat that
right.
serving.
Like, have you seen the toothpaste one? This is what is mind blowing. So I've had this argument with tons of people. How much toothpaste are you supposed to use? I'm going to ask you, just like you have your toothbrush, right? How much toothpaste do you think you're supposed to apply to your toothbrush to brush?
Well, I already kind of know the answer. It's going to be like a little tiny smidget of it. But on the commercials.
Yes, it's that beautiful little S curve, right?
That's like, using 1/4 of the paste on there.
So the idea behind like fluoride is, there's a lot of studies that suggest that fluoride might be a neurotoxin.
Sure, yeah.
And
how it's been used before in like almost a war type situation.
And so the amount of fluoride that's regarded as safe is in approximately a pea-sized drop of toothpaste, which is what you're supposed to use. Get enough fluoride on your teeth, do the job of scrubbing your teeth, all these things. And
even though like the mouth is like the first step of food digestion.
Right. And you totally absorb tons of it right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and it's really funny. I just went to the dentist again. And I know we kind of diverged because I do want to tell you what my dad used to tell me.
Okay.
So I think I mentioned this to you before. So I hadn't been to the dentist in 14 years. And we were getting married, and my wife was freaking out. You got to go to the dentist. I'm like, I'm fine. She's like,
fair enough. Yeah.
Right.
That's a proper man thing to say. I'm fine.
Right. So I go to the dentist, 14 years, and they give me a look around, and they're like, you're fine. And she was literally mad at me when I got home. She's like, how do you not see a dentist for 14 years and no cavities, no...
Because I eat toothpaste.
And the truth is I don't use toothpaste. And if I do, it's very rarely. I brush, and I brush with water.
You don't use baking soda or anything? You know the whole thing about like using baking soda for everything?
Right. No, and I don't have any problems with using it, but I find it unnecessary. If you brush properly.
So, because I tend to brush my teeth with just water all the time.
Yeah.
And I think I'm always missing something. But I don't know. They feel fine after I brush them.
So
This is good.
Right. No, so the deal is there's this guy I love on YouTube, and they do if so and so were honest. Right.
Yeah. I know. I'm very familiar
Watch
with it.
the one, and if you want to edit our video, this is a good place to do it. Watch the one if toothpaste companies were honest.
Okay.
Because all toothpaste really does is, with the little grit that they add to it, slowly wear away.
Sandpaper?
Yeah.
I always think about that. Yeah. It's like sandpaper to our teeth. They're just slowly wearing off our enamel. And then cavities form.
So getting back to the paragraph of ingredients that spiraled us into...
Wait, no, hold on. But what'd your dad say?
That's what I'm getting at. So the paragraph of ingredients where we started.
Okay.
My dad used to tell me when I was a kid, if you can read the whole ingredient label...
In one breath?
No, not in one breath. He's like, if you can pronounce every word...
Yeah, I heard that many times. Yeah,
right, then we can buy that for you. So at an early age, I was really trying to pronounce, dihydrogen phosphate.
You were an expert of pronunciations. You were like the champion of the spelling bee.
So what ended up happening in reality is that I didn't get really good at pronouncing funny chemical lab.
You got really good understanding. This is garbage.
and I looked for things with labels that were understandable. And I think that's a very good way to look at it. It's like, can you understand what the label is? Like, you have a potato chip. I understand it needs potatoes. There's an ingredient. And I also need oil because they're going to fry it. I understand that.
Speaking of potato chips, when's the last time you ate like a real potato chip? Because the potato chips now, they're just like, it's like, how can I say it? They smush up the potato into like mashed potatoes.
Right. I never buy those. I know what you're talking about.
That's all potato chips are like nowadays.
No, I buy usually kettle chips.
Yeah, same, but you have to actually buy the ones that actually you could see they're cut potatoes.
Yeah, no, they are.
Oh, okay. No, those are rare. Like I don't see them anymore.
The brand is actually called kettle chips.
Kettle chips, okay.
And there's some other
they don't
ones.
have my Costco, so.
There's another brand that I like called Dirty Potato Chips, and they're dirty because they leave the skin.
Yep. That's what I ate not too like 2 weeks ago, and they were fantastic. I'm like, where are these chips all the time?
The reality is, potato chips are very easy to make.
Yeah.
It is really not that hard. A mandolin, a couple of potatoes.
And then when you read the ingredients in the back, you're like, how?
Right.
It should be like, I bought my kids Haagen-Dazs ice cream the other day, and it was strawberry. And it had like cream, sugar, I think like 4 or 5 ingredients. It had strawberry, like actual strawberry,
egg yolk,
and then egg yolk. It was like sugar, cream, egg yolk, strawberry, and it had no food coloring, no gums, no high fruit, no nothing.
And you sent me that. Wasn't it you that sent me that video on that one food additive that makes everything creamy?
Carrageenan.
Carrageenan, yes.
I was like mind blowing now, like but remember, it's also labeled as fiber additive or something like that.
Right, they sneak it in other ways.
Yeah. Maybe because it's under a certain level, but still, it's in there. And now we're learning toxic. I bet you Europe countries, or I don't know, European countries, but other countries that don't have the garbage, they probably don't have that either.
Well, we've all seen the food label comparisons. You know, this brand X cereal versus this brand X cereal.
Right, that's what I'm thinking when I'm saying that.
Right.
Like the Cheerios, not Cheerios, Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops.
The Fruit Loops, even though box is different because they don't have the blue in there or something like that, or the green because they don't have a natural color for that food. And yeah, you can see the label; it's twice as long, and then it's missing 2-3 colors because they can't do the same color over there.
So I don't know. This is like a huge topic. What?
The food, how food's killing
Well,
us. I mean, because we're always like not us. I mean, everybody here in America is always stressed out about being overweight, and they don't know what to do. It's like let's say willpower, move more, eat less. But everybody that's doing the calorie deficient, because that's what the general nutritionist will tell you, general doctor will tell you, eat less, and make sure you eat less calories. But it doesn't work because your body starts adjusting to use less calories.
Well,
And then you feel dead at some point. You just can't find the willpower to actually use those extra calories, right?
and this is one of the things I'm glad you brought up, because I want to relate it back to what we kind of started with when I was talking about pulling nutrients out of the soil. Those
Okay.
nutrients don't just come from anywhere. Plants, I mean, there's a whole science to it. They plant mustards in the fields, and there's microorganisms in the soil and all these things. But nonetheless, if you just keep growing crop after crop after crop on the same place, you deplete what the plant needs to grow. And one of the things that I speculate is not just is the food addictive that we're constantly being, Taco Bell was the bane of my existence.
See, the thing is, you say Taco Bell, I could imagine myself eating just the basic taco or the thicker wrap. I forget they're called.
Yeah.
Chalupas or
Yeah,
something.
the chalupas.
I could imagine their nachos. My sister, that was her first job at Taco Bell, so she always brought home Taco Bell. So you say it, I could imagine it, like how it tastes, how it felt.
And have you seen some of these retro commercials showing like what a Taco Bell looked like maybe 40 years ago?
No, that's interesting.
So it's interesting when you go back and you start reading some of this stuff. Not that Taco Bell was ever health food,
Sure.
but
It's like street tacos now.
no, but the ingredients were so different.
Okay.
I mean, really so different. What little bit of information we have on what they actually used, 20, 30, 40 years ago, is a lot more basic. Tomatoes were just tomatoes. Lettuce was just lettuce, right? It wasn't like lettuce with BHT.
Well, yeah, now it's like lettuce sprayed with something so it could last longer.
Right.
So they could ship it over there. And then over there, it's going to last another week or two.
Exactly. And, the beans were beans, not some white powder that they mix until it turns brown.
Oh God, yeah. You know what? I never liked anything with the Taco Bell beans. So,
I know,
but I
too
never
many
even thought.
rumors.
Now you're just saying, I'm like, that's right. It never did look like beans. What is that paste they just spit out?
It was something legumish once upon a time.
Right? Well, I mean, that's why I'm a big fan of Chipotle. Chipotle has like raw ingredients, and I don't know. I'm sure there's some other stuff you could poke at it, because like for example, another really famous one nowadays is Chick-fil-A. But Chick-fil-A, I think there was a thing that just came out. I saw it yesterday, where the patty and the bread has like 40 ingredients.
Right. I was telling my wife, she was big into Chick-fil-A once upon a time.
Yep.
Yesterday.
I don't blame her. I mean, it's pretty good.
And so a Chick-fil-A commercial came on, and she has a total love-hate relationship with them because, one, they're expensive, and two, they're
They are
good,
expensive.
but they're not like that good. I mean, it's an interesting thing why they have such a cult following.
But what do you mean they're not that good? What's better than Chick-fil-A in
Have
that
you-
category? That I could drive down right now and get. Exactly.
I don't know.
That's why they are cornered that market. I mean, props to them.
But point of it being is they had a commercial, and it was like their sauce and their chicken nugget or
Sure.
their chicken strip. And Tanisha's like, "Oh, that looks so good." And I'm like, "Do you realize that those two things, the sauce and that piece of chicken with breading on it, constitutes like 200 ingredients?" She's like, "What?"
Well, here's another thing. I think everything that we're eating is modifying our bodies to something else. So, for example, this study came out a year ago or 2 years ago. I mentioned it to you a while ago. How our stomach, no, not stomach. Sorry, the intestines. It has the not. Oh my god. Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Has the little fingers. I don't
Yeah.
know which part of the part of our
I don't remember the
stomach
name.
area.
No, it's the intestinal tract.
Yeah, intestinal tract.
And the lining has
the little fingers that absorb, food.
Mm-hmm.
And with sugar, they get longer, so they grow. So when they get longer, aren't they going to absorb more food?
they can, and there's a whole rabbit hole on that one.
I mean,
too.
okay, there's the little fingers that absorb food. It's how fast it moves through your stomach, right? Through your tract.
I think it's because corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup, people don't realize is a very different beast. And if you look at soda, and this is a real interesting thing. So you knew, I think I told you for years that I stopped drinking sugary sodas.
Okay.
And I drank diet sodas, not because of weight or anything like that, but because when I drank regular soda, I would get crazy heartburn.
Interesting.
Okay. And when I drink juice, or like if I get a soda that's got like sugar, plain sugar as the sweetener, I don't get that heartburn. So I've kind of, through my process of elimination over the years, it's high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup hits differently for a multitude of reasons. And one of them is the molecule's fractionated smaller, and it is able, you think about like big chunks of salt versus really fine table salt, and just dissolving it in water. Which one dissolves faster?
Oh yeah, instantly gone. The little tiny chunks just gone.
Right.
You can't even see it anymore
So
as soon as you pour it in.
So that's high fructose corn syrup. Same amount of sweetness, everything else, but molecularly, when it hits you, it's very different. Because
Well, that's a perfect example of the foods that are killing us, that we should never touch. Like, how is this even legal?
grass,
Grass.
generally regarded
because
as
it's
safe.
under the grass category.
So this is like one of those funny things that people don't understand is
Organic high fructose.
right. No, they've done it by parsing it down to small enough pieces. High fructose corn syrup's okay once in a while if you no, and nobody is forcing.
Well, I bet you it still stresses out the body, but once it's gone, that little period, it's fine. But if you do it day after day after day,
right, and that's
how that changes your body.
I think that's the ultimate problem. I think that comes from lack of education, that people go in, they buy.
Yeah, the consumership. Speaking on the education, like you were saying, from when you were young, your parents were trying to teach you, how to properly look at food. I have a story too, because we came from the Soviet Union, and our food was. We never had a problem of food, not having enough food. I never lived through that period, but our food was food.
Right.
Right. I remember milk and stuff like that. It had like little chunks of butter on top, and it was real milk. So when we came here, we never second guessed that food is not food here. It's,
right.
Plastic, right? So we ate everything like it was food. Mm-hmm. We didn't know any better. That was lack of education. But nobody's going to educate you on this stuff.
Well, and this lack of education is extending grotesquely into everything else, whether it's finances, plain old literacy. I still have a hard time believing that people can't read. There are some people in the world that don't know how to read. I just think that's atrocious. But sticking to the topic at hand, not only do we have just this minuscule base of education, but so much of it is flawed. Our food pyramid is ridiculous.
Oh God, that wasn't. I was just listening to something earlier. The food pyramid wasn't designed by like nutritionists.
Yeah, it was
anything.
designed by the agriculture company.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, what can we sell that's really cheap and easy to make? Corn, boom. Wheat, boom.
And then there was even, it's funny how they put it out there too. There's this show, and I can't remember the name of the show, but inside of the TV show, there's a woman who makes a TV show.
Okay.
And that TV show is called Supper at Six. So everybody who wants to look at this, to go off of that reference. And in her Hollywood breakout moment, she is learning the ebb and flow of she has a really good product, but Hollywood is built on sponsorship. So she's, and I was literally shocked that they even put this out there. She is cooking with beef tallow.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
And keep in mind, this is a total fictional show, but it's like they're shoving it in our face.
They're like, ha ha. Yeah, there it is. You can't, yeah.
And who needed, or who decided that they would sponsor the show and blow it up?
Coca-Cola.
Some
Kellogg.
No, some total make-believe company. It's totally make-believe.
Okay.
Selling vegetable shortening made out of cottonseed oil. And so the hostess didn't want to be a sellout. She didn't want to.
They're like making fun of us.
Right. So she decided to, like, at the moment when she was supposed to present the product, like, and I bake all of my wonderful doughs, because, you know, you use shortening for like dough and whatever. So she's like, that moment when she's going to present the sponsor's product, she like throws it in the garbage can and goes with beef tallow.
Oh, okay.
And
I see.
And they absolutely wreck not her, but all the people that she cares about in the show around her. People who, you know, like the people that set up the booms and all these things that don't have enough money in reserve to not miss a week of work.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
people that are struggling.
Right. So they literally crush everybody around her.
Well, and then eventually she'll get crushed too, yeah.
And eventually she will get crushed. Yeah. And so what did, you know.
But that's reality though. Like, okay, for example, not about the crushing part, but about how we cook, right? Mm-hmm. In the last so many years, it's changed so much. How fries used to be, like any fried food. Or not any, a lot of it used to use beef tallow.
Right.
It used to use an animal natural product, right? Now it's, how can I say it? All vegetable oil. It's a leaf. It's healthy for you. it's I don't know how, like, this whole thing of, because it's a vegetable, it's a pretty green leaf on the box, it's healthy for you. Like that 2 and 2, I think that's education. That's like, you could almost say brainwashing over so many years by advertisement.
Not only is it brainwashing, it's companies did a lot of research. Do you know why Healthy Choice meals have green packaging? You said it yourself, green leaf.
Yeah.
There is built into us psychologically something that says green is healthy. We can look at grass. When it's green, it's growing, it's love.
Well, that's a perfect analogy, because we go out, everything is flourishing, right? It's spring, everything's green.
Right.
Good.
Right. And so it's not that they invented that in us, but they
used it.
They
exactly.
exploited it.
Exploited it. Thank you.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of this stuff. Did I tell you, speaking of, I made my first French fries in beef tallow.
Yeah, I did that not too long ago. Yeah.
How would you think of it?
It made a mess, but no, it was fantastic. I loved it.
You made a mess?
Yeah, the spattering.
Oh.
Because I actually dipped it. Like I had a frying thing, and I dipped it and stuff.
I didn't cook mine long enough. They were a little soggy.
Oh, no. I made them right, and it was fantastic. I loved it.
They do taste really good.
Yeah.
Even though it was a little soggy, it was like...
yeah, you kind of have to dry them out and stuff. But no, I cooked them long enough. Because I made them 3 different times. Me and my kids. And we, like, first time, like, they were either burnt too much or not burnt enough, and the second time got better. Third time was almost perfect. But no, I had no problem. It was, it tastes more like In-N-Out fries.
Which I don't like In-N-Out fries.
No?
All the French fries I don't like, it's them.
Okay, I'll give you that, because after eating junk fries like McDonald's, Burger King fries are terrible. Let's stick to McDonald's fries. After eating McDonald's fries, it was trying to eat In-N-Out fries, they were not very good. I'll give you that. Once I got used to them and I haven't touched McDonald's in like 10 years, In-N-Out fries are like excellent.
You're, like, we are sending our audience very mixed
Eat
messages.
In-N-Out. It's fantastic.
I just want to let you know that my favorite French fries are from Wendy's.
Really? I haven't had Wendy's in probably 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't eat. Okay, the only fast food I eat is either, what is it? Chipotle.
Okay.
Because it's like rotting ingredients in front of you. And the second one, if I have to, would be In-N-Out. I honestly, one of the biggest deterrents from In-N-Out for me, like I don't eat it myself. I usually take my kids out. Like we go, let's say, up the hill to the snow or something, and we come back, or we're going hiking. We come back, we'll eat In-N-Out. It's kind of like a, and I think that's how it should have been. Like we eat it once a month,
Right.
Right. But lately, every time I'm around the In-N-Out area, there's one like next to my house and one like in the Roseville area, which I hang out a lot in. It's always so busy. I don't want to.
Right.
Yeah, I like don't even want to bother.
So, despite my ebb and flow with all the things, I have stuck to my no fast food period ever
Good.
since.
I don't see the. Yeah,
I'm
hold
just
on,
tooting
hold on.
my own horn. Give me a
What
give
about
me
the
a
double
whoop.
cheeseburger?
That was not fast food.
Oh, I see.
That
Okay,
was-
fast food. That was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
restaurant.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, I get
And
that.
I got to admit, it was a good burger, but it was restaurant price too.
Like that's a good question. Like I want to like I'm curious to compare burgers from let's in Japan. Like burgers in Japan or burgers in
I'll do you one better. Something
Yeah.
that's actually attainable, like easily. Go to Hawaii and eat beef. It is not the same thing
the actual cows from Hawaii.
because they don't import beef in Hawaii. All the beef,
Fascinating.
And,
Has to be from there.
dude, it is not the same thing. The flavor,
Well, okay, I could relate because I used to buy beef here locally. It was completely different.
right?
So I think that's probably very similar because the beef we eat are from, poor cows that are squished together that are fed nothing but corn. Like I feel bad for those cows or the pigs or the chickens, right? I don't think anything should ever be treated like that. And me stopping beef and going vegan is not going to help anything. So
No, and
that's kinda
there's
silly.
a whole like cross.
It's me buying from a local farmer is
Right.
going to make a change. That's going to make the change.
So that is something that I'd like to segue into a little bit too before we get out of time completely, which is, what do you think are some good options for people? Because I don't want to just throw out like this big warning sign and say, "Oh my God, all our food is killing us."
Well, okay. I would say step one is cook your own food. Don't ever buy anything in a box.
That right. Another one of these little rules, right? The farther away it looks from what it was. So like you buy an apple, even if it's not organic, and even if it's at a big grocery store, it's like, yeah, at least it's still an apple.
Sure.
And then, you could take that you take it and then you make applesauce.
If you make it yourself, exactly. That's why I say try to make the food yourself. That
Right.
would be my suggestion. Step one. Potato chips, same thing. Don't ever buy potato chips. Make them yourself. I mean, here's the thing. Everybody's too busy. That's the problem. I would say make food yourself. Everybody's too busy, or that's maybe a cop out almost, because everybody's so busy with entertainment nowadays.
Right.
I mean,
the 6 hours of TikTok, you couldn't
exactly.
have squeezed a couple of cooking.
I think the whole everybody's too busy is almost a lie because that's a lie people tell themselves. I'm too busy. I'm gonna go to McDonald's.
What that really says is this isn't important enough for me to make time for it.
And that's why McDonald's is in business.
Yes.
And not, let's say, in business. They could be in business with the type of food they're selling.
So one thing that I like to stress is relationships. I know this doesn't seem like a
No,
doesn't seem.
I think it's a big part of it.
Right.
I
Okay.
could relate,
Good.
Yeah.
If you can have a relationship with just a few people, like I have a few stores around my house that we shop at pretty reliably, and I talk to the butchers,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
I know by name who they are, and
And
they
what
make.
cow they slaughtered that
Well,
week.
maybe so not quite that level, but I can ask it. Like I bought some halibut one time, and I'm like, so how fresh is this halibut? And it's like it was like in the water
They're
yesterday.
like, wink, wink.
No, but like it was in the water
Yeah.
yesterday.
That's as fresh as you want.
Right.
There.
Something that I've kind of be getting into more of a habit is I have a local food co-op, and dude, the produce is so different.
So I used to get the box. I forget what it was called.
Oh, the ugly fruit. Is that the one?
It wasn't. It was a different one.
Okay.
They delivered once a week or twice a week, whatever you pick. There's, I think, 3 times a week.
Okay.
And how much fruit they. So it was kind of like that, but it was whatever they could get, and it was all local, right? It has to be local and stuff, and it still had dirt on it, some of it and stuff. It was fantastic. So
Yeah.
stuff like that, yeah, like make your own food, shop local farmers. And don't try to tell me you're too busy. I think the only too busy excuse works is if you're racking in so much dough that you have your own personal assistant and chef, or just at least personal assistant making stuff for you and buying
Right.
it locally, right?
And then, we talk about a lot about, you see these pictures, New York 1940. There's
Sure,
no fat people.
Sure.
So here,
I love that, exactly.
Okay. So one of the things that we never get around to talking about, because my grandfather was born in Brooklyn, New York. My great grandmother and his aunt, my grandfather's aunts, my great grand, well, getting tongue tied on that.
Sure.
Anyways, my family up there in New York, they went to the market every day. It was different.
Interesting.
Refrigeration was different. I understand, a lot of these things hadn't changed yet, pasteurized milk and all these things, but it was so ingrained.
It was real food, man.
It was real food. And they did not stock their refrigerator or their cupboards with stuff that was going to be, because we know the jokes nowadays, how every grandparent, you go to your grandparents' house and there's like 100 bottles of expired stuff, right? So, these are things that I hope will at least remind people that, there used to be a different way of doing these things, and people used to, on their way home, go to the market every day.
But I'm going to add to that. I think it's a combination of the whole busy. I'm too busy. I would say it's not even too busy. That's just a cop-out, too busy. It's just an excuse people are using. I would give them this, though. They're too tired. They're too mentally drained. With the busy world we're in, like America, again, this is one thing I'll tell you, it adds to it. I heard lots of people that came over from Eastern Europe, all of them were telling me, being in America is so busy. Like a week flies by, boom, it's done. You're always busy. When back in Eastern Europe, the life pace is a lot slower, and I would say that's a huge addition to not cooking, not getting your fresh food, not going locally. And I mean, if you're in a big city, that's very interesting. You brought up New York. That's as big as it gets. And you're in a big city, how are you going to get, farm fresh produce?
So big cities, ironically, are one of the best places for this. This gets back to relationship a little bit.
Excellent,
But I know San Francisco, right? Biggest city we have locally. There's tons of markets, fish markets, and
I mean, it's a 30-minute drive from into San Francisco.
no, but they come every day. These people,
yeah. So I'm saying it's not that big of a deal. So I'm like overestimating
and the big
it.
cities usually sell like the like you want the cream of the crop fish, you want the
Right,
best of the
right,
best,
right.
but you got to know where to go. And it's got to be kind of built into your lifestyle. It's like we have a great store locally here called Cordy Brothers. Okay, shameless plug. And they have a meat section to die for. You want like prosciutto. You want like these really
Interesting.
right, and you go there, and it's still a supermarket, right? But it's founded by these two brothers who've been there for like 60 years now. My mom, when she lived in Sacramento, shopped there. A lot of my family shopped there. It's kind of a little institution, but when I think, I think what it has to be besides, this not busy enough is got to be important to you because there's a lot of people that maybe were raised on most of this stuff anyways
Comes
and don't
back to education.
and it comes back to education.
Importance, like
Yeah.
what scales the importance is your knowledge and education.
Which I really am glad I triggered my memory. So this is something big on this whole topic. Okay, I used to get told all the time by an old mentor of mine that literally worrying about all this stuff is more damaging than the stuff. So if you
Maybe at some level.
right. So if you just carefree, live your life, eat what you want over here, and really don't worry about it, it's like
I mean, sure, we're talking about stress, and stress is a huge how can I say it? Not marker, but influence on your what's it called, hormones.
right.
So, and the hormones kind of do whatever they do in your system. Speaking of hormones, insulin. I've been learning about insulin and how insulin affects, let's say, your heart, your lungs, your liver, your brain, your bones. How insulin's like almost like a god hormone because it affects everything. And why I bring it up is because the foods that we're eating affects how we produce insulin and how much insulin gets in our system. You know, the blood glucose meters that everybody's showing off, and they're all like, "Oh, look, this rice affected my sugar levels this much," versus let's say if you eat rice, it'll affect more or less. And I just found out your body's gonna absorb it, and then insulin's gonna go out, and then it's how your body handles the insulin versus the sugar. So these meters are almost misleading. It's just one marker, but we're missing two other markers, like how fast does insulin gets excreted into your system, and then how does insulin affect the sugar? How long does it take for your body for the insulin or for the sugar to go down and for the insulin to go down? Because every time we have insulin in our body, it affects our body a certain way, a negative way, because insulin is a blocker to the fat cells. Like if you have insulin to your system, anytime you have it blocks your body from using the fat stores.
And it does
It's like a gate.
it does some other interesting things too.
It's huge.
So insulin timing. You really work out, all right? And we were talking about this the other day, intensity. Okay, and I know we're kind of getting a little sidebar on our topic, but you really work out. You take, your lower body to failure, real failure, not just, I'm getting uncomfortable and I think I've done enough. You really take that to failure. And what happens is you deplete all your glycogen stores.
Sure.
And one of the things that happens in a normal, healthy individual is so then you eat after that. And let's say you have some protein and some carbs and those types of things. And yes, you do get this insulin spike, but it's besides kind of blocking, it's actually able to force the glycogen stores fast into the muscles.
That depends on how much muscle a person has relative to their body fat and their body weight.
Okay, but the process still happens
Sure,
where
absolutely.
it is shuttling excess amounts of various things towards the muscles that were damaged due to your exercise, whatever
Absolutely.
that
And
might
that's a
be.
huge insulin thing.
And so if you can't get an insulin spike, if you become so insulin resistant that you don't get that, after you work out, you're not able to heal properly.
By the way, it's not insulin resistant. Insulin resistant is how your cells react to insulin. So like if you have like then your body like your cells stop reacting to insulin and then your body excretes more insulin. And that's like, then the diabetes comes into play, and then your body stops producing insulin. So yeah, insulin I found is a huge. It affects everything in your body. And again, okay, perfect example. You're saying so you have insulin in your body now, and it puts the sugars into your muscles, but you don't have enough muscles for the sugar because everybody's eating a high carb diet every day. That with all the pesticides in the diet or in the foods we're eating, plus with all the plastics, plus with all the stress, and when we put all this together, is our food killing us?
Well, it sounds like our food is killing us because we're stupid.
And with that, I think this part one is they're gonna have to be a part 2, 3, 4.
Right? I know another long topic.
Yeah, this is a fascinating topic, and we still have so much to learn.
I know we basically just broke the door open.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I think that's all.
Okay.